Today, Wednesday, December 20th, just 5 days before Christmas, LSU is getting a closer look into who will be on this elite 2024 football team because today is signing day. Later through the show, I'll be bringing on Shea Dixon from On3.com Bengal Tigers, along with the news and sports director of the Louisiana Radio Network, Jeff Palermo, and the assistant editor of Tiger Rag, William Weathers. One thing they'll specifically be talking about is former Vanderbilt quarterback A.J. Swann deciding this past Monday to come to LSU to continue his career and what exactly this means for LSU's quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. And while on the topic of commitments coming in and signing day news, Jeff and William will be interviewing a man who's decided there's no place like home, Jardin Gilbert. Former U-High standout and Aggie, Gilbert has decided to leave Texas A&M after 23 games in College Station to be in Death Valley for once and for all. I'm Camryn, your host with Tiger Rag Audibles podcast. Before we jump into signing day talk, I would like to thank our sponsor, Pawpaw's Campers and Cars. That's pawpawsrvs.com, 1-800-728-CAMP, 1-800-728-2267.
Hey neighbors, we're not that far from where you are. Make that short drive to Pawpaw's Campers in Picayune and see our Wildwood, Catalina, Sportsman, and Zinger trailer lines and our Rockwood and Heritage Glen fifth wheel lines. From Houma to Hammond, Biloxi to Jackson, and Mobile and Pensacola, we're not that far from where you are. Come and see us.
You're gonna love the way we deal. Pawpaw's Camper City and Picayune. You're gonna love the way we deal.
That's a good RV, Pawpaw.
Back here on Tiger Rag Radio, Jeff Palermo, News and Sports Director of Louisiana Radio Network, along with the Assistant Editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, William Weathers. And we bring in Shea Dixon from On3.com, the Bengal Tiger. He joins us to talk about signing day, which gets underway on Wednesday. But before we get into the high school recruits that LSU plans to add starting tomorrow, I got to ask you about A.J. Swann, who LSU has received a commitment out of the transfer portal, a quarterback from Vanderbilt. Your thoughts on getting a guy like A.J. Swann?
I thought this was the perfect pickup for what they're looking for, which is some both experience and competition for Garrett Nussmeier, who is obviously the heir apparent to Heisman winner Jardin Gilbert, who's off to the NFL draft. Nussmeier will get the start in the bowl game, and we'll get an extended look at him then. But one thing that I picked up was that when Joe Sloan, LSU's quarterbacks coach, made his way around the country, Jeff, to visit different quarterbacks, so many in the portal said, I want promises. And that's beyond NIL money. It was, I want a promise to start. I want a promise for the most reps of anyone in the room. And when you've got Garrett Nussmeier on roster and waiting his turn and ready to take over, and you couple that with, hey, Ricky Collins is going to need more reps in year two. You're bringing in a young guy in Colin Hurley. You're just not in a position to where you need to do that. And I think that A.J. Swann out of Vanderbilt was a perfect fit. He was a guy who was playing at one of the lower tier SEC schools. He knew that, hey, after 2 years of playing time where I've started double-digit games, I want to go somewhere else and play on at one, a better team, and two, remain in the SEC and develop. And it came down to LSU and South Carolina, and crazy enough, Jeff, so he had kind of led South Carolina and LSU to believe that on Sunday night after making visits to both schools that he was leaning South Carolina, and he woke up on Monday and said, you know what? I'm going back to what I thought originally of why I'm leaving Vanderbilt, and it's because I want to be on a team that can compete for titles while also simultaneously me competing in a quarterback room where I have a shot to win a job. And certainly, look, Nussmeier's got all the talent in the world. He'll get the first crack at it, but now you've got a quarterback on campus who has started double-digit SEC games.
And what kind of quarterback are they getting here? This is not he's not going to be running for 1,000 yards. He'll be lucky to run for 100 yards. He's more of a pocket passer, but give us an idea of what kind of kid this is and how he was thought of coming out of high school, out of Georgia, I believe, before he signed at Vanderbilt.
Yes, he was a top 25 quarterback nationally coming out of Georgia, had a number of offers, signed with Vandy, and immediately as a true freshman a year ago got into the mix. And to sum up kind of the passer that he is, he threw for over 1,200 yards and double-digit touchdowns as a true freshman, but he had 159 pass attempts, Jeff, to start the season before he threw a pick. That was the longest stretch by an SEC quarterback to open a career since 2002. It was also the fewest interceptions thrown by any FBS true freshman quarterback, with at least 200 dropbacks on the season in 2022. So a guy who, when he's protecting the football, does a very good job at it. Now in year 2, he was the starter again. He went out there and threw for a bunch of yards and again, double-digit touchdowns, got hurt, threw some picks, but had a right elbow injury that sidelined him. And now he decided at the end of the year, hey, look, I want to go elsewhere. I'm looking to play at, again, a bigger school. So comes into LSU with almost 400 pass attempts, almost 3,000 yards. He's thrown for more than 20 touchdowns. He's made 12 starts. He's played in 15 games. So is this Jardin Daniels where he's going to be running up and down the field? Of course not. But it's another guy who can sit back there in the pocket. He is pocket mobile and make good decisions and, much like a Nussmeier, push the ball downfield.
We're talking with Shea Dixon from On3.com, the Bengal Tiger. And Shea, in the 2024 recruiting class, LSU's bringing in another quarterback, Colin Hurley, who actually played in the U.S. Army Bowl on Monday night, threw a couple touchdown passes. Is he the highlight of this 2024 class? And tell us a little bit about his skill set, a young man out of Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, look, I don't know if he'd be the highlight, but he's certainly the quarterback of the class, and he's got some real promise. Remember, he's only 16. He reclassified by jumping a year up, so he really should still be a junior in high school. Instead, he's wrapping things up and headed to LSU. So he's going to need some time to develop. This is not going to come as a surprise to you, Jeff, because you cover Louisiana high school football. The marquee player, if you're talking rankings and just maybe long-term upside, is Trey Green, who's the number 1 tight end in America, a guy who had a ton of basketball offers when he was playing up in the Felicianas, transferred to Zachary, and had a monster year en route to going to that state title game. And a guy who is 6'6.5 plus that has shown that catch radius ability, playing a little wide receiver, flexed out tight end. He's a guy I think that when you look at what Brian Kelly, Mike Denbrock want to do with an offense, we heard a lot about 12 personnel. Well, this year you didn't need that. You had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas and Jardin Daniels. So Mason Taylor's production dipped. I think with those guys gone, you see them go back to a lot of what Georgia did, which is running the football, relying on a couple of wideouts, but really leaning on some tight ends. And they've gotten that now. They've got a Kamorian Pimpton, a Mason Taylor's coming back. You add a guy like Trey Green, I think that room is really, really talented and one that I think that they can utilize in a big way. So there's a lot of guys I love in this class. I mean, Weston Davis, they flipped a 5-star offensive lineman from Texas A&M, who I think is going to be a multi-year starter. But most people would circle Trey Dez at the top as the guy who is the most impressive in this class.
We all know about LSU's issues in the defensive secondary. How do they address that in this signing class? I know they didn't have to go far to get a guy like Deshaun McBride. I would imagine he's probably the top guy out of this defensive secondary. And what about the cornerback position, Shea?
He is. So they didn't have to go far to get either of their safeties, and I love them both. Deshaun McBride's a top 10 safety, as is Joel Rogers coming out of the Feliciana area. So you've got 2 local guys, obviously relatively local guys at Denham Springs, and then up there in the St. Francisville area who are going to come down and play safety. And then at corner, they've taken 4 guys, including Jawan Johnson out of LCA, who's going to make that transition from quarterback to cornerback. We've seen it happen before. It takes a little time, but he's got the athleticism and just a pure football player with the smarts to play some corner, nickel, safety, wherever you need him. And then Bernard Causey out of Kennedy in New Orleans. They flipped him from Ole Miss. P.J. Woodland out of South Mississippi and Hattiesburg. They flipped him away from Mississippi State. And then the 4th edition would be Wallace Foster out of New Orleans, who's kind of stuck with them from the start. So they've got 6 high school guys. We've already seen them add Jardin Gilbert, the U-High grad and former Texas A&M starter, to the safety room. So that's 7 right there, and I expect them to be more active in the portal, both at safety and corner. So this is, once again, an off-season rebuild at the defensive back position that we've been experiencing through the first 2 years of the Brian Kelly era.
Shea, what are some of the other highlights out of this recruiting class? Obviously, we just mentioned it, a lot of kids out of the defensive secondary, but where else do you think LSU added some strength? You're you're going to lose Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., so you obviously needed to have a couple of wide receivers in there as well.
And they do. They've signed will sign 3 Louisiana receivers, or at least natives, 2 of them playing in Louisiana, Kyle and Billy Ott down in Houma area at Terrebonne, and then over at John Curtis, Michael Turner, who's a speedster. Then they signed Jelani Watkins, who's one of the fastest players in the state of Texas when it comes to sprinting. He's a New Orleans native, but he's been playing over at Atascocita in East Texas. So 3 guys there. Now it's shifted. Xavion Thomas, a wide receiver, is on board out of the portal out of Mississippi State, who on a bad state offense went for over 500 yards and maybe just as importantly solves your return game issues. I mean, he is a proven SEC punt and kick returner, which they have not had the past 2 seasons. So that right there is a start to the receiver room. I'm told they're expected to take 1 more portal receiver. We'll see ultimately where that goes. But as you said, Neighbors and Thomas are leaving, but you've got Kyron Lacey back. You've got Chris Hilton back. You've got Aaron Anderson back. You can Landon Ibieta get healthy. And then what does this freshman class that was on campus this year do that didn't need to be relied upon, in this year's offense? And that's headlined by guys like Shelton Sampson here at, Catholic High, Jalen Brown, a top 100 player out of Miami. So for me, I've never worried about LSU's receivers. It's just reload. And I often reference this. The years where maybe the lowest ranked guys were starting at receiver were your DJ Charks and Russell Gage. Well, when they're healthy, they start in the NFL. So there is no shortage of receivers at LSU. It's just about finding those next guys to put into the lineup.
And Shea, doesn't look like much drama, right? I mean, this class is pretty much locked and loaded, and then maybe you get a couple more guys for the February signing day, right?
Oh, you jinxed it. There you go, Jeff. There we go. So who knows what tomorrow will hold. But, yes, it does look like everything is in place. And, boy, I will tell you I've covered a lot of signing days for 3 different head coaches here at LSU. And the reality is that you're always down to the wire with where's this guy going? Where's this guy going? Is he going to stick? Did this guy visit this school at the last minute? And all 27 of LSU's commitments visited nowhere on the final weekend before signing day. I thought that was quite noteworthy, or something quite noteworthy to mention. And it speaks to the staff being bought in with the players being bought in with the staff. And every commit that I've talked to over the past few days said, hey, look, we're in group chats together and all this. And we all believe in the direction LSU's headed, and we see no reason to be looking around. So it could be, indeed, if it goes as planned, a drama-free signing day where the 27 commits you have are going to all sign, and you can say, wipe my hands clean of it, they're in, let's focus on the portal and any remaining high school targets, and that's about as good as you can draw it up.
Shea, thanks a lot for your time, man. We appreciate it. Again, you can keep up with National Signing Day at on3.com and the Bengal Tiger. Shea, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Shea, for coming in and going over some of the things happening around this LSU football program when it comes to signing day. If you want to keep up to date on signing day at LSU and who all will be in uniform next season, check out either on tigerrag.com or LSU's football social media will be posting signings all day long. Up next, we have Jardin Gilbert along with Jeff and William on Gilbert's decision to come home next season.
Jeff Palermo along with the assistant editor for Tiger Rag Magazine, William Weathers. We bring in our next guest. He is a man who is coming back home. Former Texas A&M Aggie safety Jardin Gilbert, who is committed to LSU after entering the NCAA transfer portal. He joins us on Tiger Rag Radio. Jardin, thanks a lot for spending some time with us. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. No, it's a blessing that y'all got me on y'all show tonight.
We appreciate it. We do have a break coming up here, and I believe our producer has already asked if you can hold on, so we appreciate your time tonight. But, Jardin, when did it become clear to you that your time at College Station should come to an end and you should come back and play for the LSU Tigers?
Definitely, if not a little bit before, but definitely whenever Coach Jimbo got released. That's who recruited me there. That's who I had a relationship with. And then Coach Mike Elko got hired. It was a good hire for the program, but there was a lot of uncertainty, so I knew that I needed to leave and to the transfer portal.
Hey, Jordan, this is William. I want to ask you about something you wrote on your Twitter page when you said you were committed. I was quoting, you said, "Time to do what should have been done." Is that in reference to maybe you thought about signing here out of U-High, or just how did you just take us through that, getting us back, get up to speed on that?
Definitely. LSU is always where I wanted to be. My year was the COVID year. Also was the year that Coach O was getting released. So I didn't want to be in a position where a whole big coaching change whenever it's my freshman year of college, just getting acclimated to college. So I didn't want to have a huge change like that whenever college itself was a big change.
How you certainly wanted to play at LSU right off the bat, right? I mean, that was the thing, but I guess it's just the timing wasn't there.
Correct. That is the truth. 100% on.
How do you feel you've become a better player in your 2+ seasons that you got to play at Texas A&M?
Definitely experience. Experience builds you as a player and tells you a lot about the game. I think that in college, wherever I would have been, I think that the knowledge that I've retained has helped me understand the game and allows me to play much faster.
Jardin, how's that shoulder injury? How's that coming along as far as the recovery from that?
It's going well. So the surgery, my shoulder was a problem last year, but I continued to play through it for my team. It affected me. It affected the way I practiced and obviously the way I played. So I knew that it was time to get the surgery. But it is good to go. I should be cleared for spring ball.
All right, Jardin, so we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about your expectations of where you see yourself in this LSU defense next year and getting to play with some guys that you're already probably pretty accustomed to. Jardin, you probably watched LSU have its struggles in the defensive secondary in 2023. What do you foresee your role in 2024?
Just talking with the coaches. Obviously, LSU didn't play to their standard. Just talking to the coaches. Being a leader, being an effective leader, understanding that I have experience and I understand the game a little bit more. So I feel like becoming an effective leader and just leading by example and vocal if needed. Obviously, coming to be a starter, I was a starter at A&M, so that standard will still be something that I need to uphold. And just bringing DBU back to LSU.
Jordan, from the time the season ended, it was right at Thanksgiving. How quickly did I was entered the portal, and how quickly did you hear from LSU and then the wheels started rolling there?
Literally the same day I entered the portal. I always knew that if I ever did enter the portal and they gave me another opportunity to come back home, it was a no-brainer.
What's your stance like? Besides coming home, Nick Brissett's on staff. Keelan Moses committed, and he's coming just to get a little U-High flavor back together.
U-High is a great high school. That's one of the best decisions I've made in my life to be a part of the Cubs. It's funny that you said that because Nick Brissett was actually my OV host, and he showed me around LSU and just connected me with some people. And Keelan Moses, that kid is a grown man. So I can't, he's an unbelievable talent and has a very, very bright future, and I can't wait to play with him.
What do you make out of this, Jardin, that this seems to have been a trend here with Coach Brian Kelly, bringing back kids that from Louisiana that had to go play elsewhere like yourself. We've seen this with other guys as well, Louisiana kids, whether it's Jarek Bernard Converse, Greg Brooks, Joe Fuchsia a year ago, even Andre Sam this year. Guys that have been playing elsewhere now get the opportunity to come back to play in their home state. You feel like it means a little bit more knowing that you had to go somewhere else before you can finally come and play at the school that you've always dreamed of?
Definitely. First, I want to say my prayers to Greg Brooks and his family. Tremendous guy based off of what the staff been telling me. And but yeah, to your point, to your question, yes, it's definitely something. I can't speak for everybody else, but for me personally, I feel like it's something that I have to prove. I have to I think the way I'm gonna go about it is that I have a certain standard for myself, and I'm gonna show them why it was a good reason to offer me. Just have a little heavier chip on my shoulder.
Jardin, go ahead, William. We got less than a minute here.
When this all came together, Jordan, what was your reaction of your family? I mean, I know they probably don't mind not having to drive 5 hours to a home game now.
Oh, they made this decision super easy. They was very excited for me. Content with the decision, just proud that I'm back home and being able to represent LSU across my chest.
Jardin, thanks a lot, man, for your time tonight. Merry Christmas. Congratulations on coming back home, and look forward to seeing you play 1, 2 years at LSU. If 1 year, if it goes really well, I guess, but 2 years, if that would be awesome. If you can be wearing the purple and gold for that long, we appreciate your time, man.
People come from everywhere to Pawpaw's Campers and Cars.
Only Pawpaw's Campers and Cities. Pawpaw's Campers and Cars are people. And we're going to let it go for I forgot. Take the whole family over to Picayune. We got something for you. All right. What else we going to say? PawpawsNicePrice.com. That's probably all we need to say.
Thank you to both Shea Dixon and Jardin Gilbert for coming in on today's show. Thank you to Jeff Palermo and William Weathers for having such great interviews with them. Before we go, I want to take a moment to talk about the women's basketball game that will be happening tonight against Coppin State at 5 p.m. This is going to be a huge game for Angel Reese, as she'll be going back home for this game and showing all of her teammates the places she grew up and the place that ultimately molded her into the Angel Reese we all know and love today. This is going to be the women's last game before Christmas in the holiday season, so it'll be one you won't want to miss. Again, the Lady Tigers will be going up against Coppin State tonight at 5 p.m. The men's basketball team is also set to play tomorrow, Thursday, December 21st, against Lamar at 8 p.m. in the PMAC. All right, that's it for today's episode. This is Camryn Connor, your host. I won't be back until after Christmas, so I just want to tell everyone to have a happy and safe holiday weekend. We'll be back with more football news next week, and of course, all news will also be out on the TigerRag.com website, so check that out in the meantime. Before I go, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Pawpaw's Campers and Cars. That's pawpawsrvs.com, 1-800-728-CAMP, 1-800-728-2267.